Hello, this is Jeff Risdon from Lions Wire and Detroit Lions podcast, and in lieu of a second podcast this week, we had some things come up, so we are instead going to do a little vlog, and we're doing it in question and answer style. We polled the Patreon members on the Slack channel. They came through with some great questions. In fact, you came up with so many that we're not going to be able to get to them all in a reasonable amount of time. And I also have my daughter, Elizabeth, helping me she's going to read questions off camera. She won't be on camera. That's the way. You're almost a teenager. She turns 13 next week. Happy birthday, Lizzie, by the way.
Thanks.
Yeah. And thanks for helping. The guys will appreciate it, too. Yeah, here we go. All right. First question
is from Mitch Z. Why does it seem like certain teams pick up the remains of other teams? It looks like every time we let a player fall off our roster, Denver or New England is right there to nab them.
Yeah, it does. I mean, we lost Mike Ford, and Mike Ford got claimed by the Broncos. Jelani Tavai is now with the Patriots. Everybody knew that was going to happen. I think it's just more a case of they need inexpensive talent. They have some premium talent, especially in New England. Denver is too, actually, up against the salary cap a little bit. They need cheap talent that can fill out rosters. They know they can play. I don't know if there's any connections from Denver right at the moment, but with New England, obviously there's the Quinn Tricia connections, so that explains that. I mean, everybody knew Tavai was going to go there. It just sort of seems that way. I mean, the offseason, like Duron Harmon, he's in Atlanta. Marvin Jones and Jamal Agnew are in Jacksonville. So it wasn't like it was all concentrated into one thing. I was pleasantly I was happy for Mike Ford to get claimed because I think he can play. I think it was a case of he and Jerry Jacobs, our friend from the podcast, and by the way, check out the interview that we did with him on Wednesday night. It was great. It was awesome having Jerry in, the new number 39 on your Detroit Lions. They're basically the same kind of guy, and the Lions went younger, more upside, and cheaper. That's football. That's business. Mike Ford got it, and we wish him well in Denver. But It always seems that way. I think most teams sort of feel that way, especially teams that see guys like Kyle Van Noy go to other teams and become good. But I think maybe we're a little on the sensitive side with that with Detroit, just because of the success or lack thereof of the team. All right, next.
Next question is from Ryan N. What are your impressions of the coaching and front office now that we have gotten through the draft and training camp?
My impressions of Dan Campbell and the front office, Brad Holmes, I am a big Dan Campbell fan. I like what I see from him. I enjoyed watching him run practices. I enjoy him being prompt for his press conferences, taking the time to honestly answer questions with enthusiasm. He's... Like, you can tell that, like, he's thoughtful and he's sort of anticipated the questions, but at the same time, he's not afraid to go off a little bit on the different paths with them. And I have a great appreciation for that after the master of the filibuster that preceded him. Holmes, I think he's got a plan. And one of the things, I'll go on this for a little bit. It was something that he said in their press conference on Thursday, where he talked about how disagreements aren't necessarily a bad thing, because it forces you to see the other person's point of view, and they take that into account, and they respect one another's opinions. First off, I wish all of life was that way. Our country could use a heck of a lot more of that. But from a football context, it's also great because you're getting different eyes on different guys, and not everybody's going to feel the same about the same player. And the fact that they sort of go through that consensus, and that's a huge Brad Holmes asset. That's what sold him to Sheila Ford on getting the job. Sheila Ford Hamp, the new owner. I like it. I'm not sold that the plan is going to work long term. I think it's off to the right start, though. I think they made smart decisions by going with the youth movement and by going with the guys that they did. You know, I'm ready to be in. I hope it works. I'm more confident now than I was when they hired them in January. I can definitively say that.
Next question is from Floundericious. What are your most likely next roster moves considering the state of the roster today? I
think we're going to see, for our next roster moves, and thank you, Floundericious, for the question, I think you're going to see some offensive line changes. I think they are still going to be looking for somebody that can come in, not necessarily start, but somebody that has a little bit more experience than Logan Stenberg or Evan Brown or Matt Nelson along the offensive line. If a veteran jettisons free somewhere, and I don't know who it would be, and honestly, it's not a great time to need offensive linemen, but it wouldn't surprise me if they pick up a guy like Joe Dahl. He's still out there, by the way. I don't know if he would come back or not. I don't know how he feels about the new administration. I know that he would not have come back with the old administration. So that's probably the next thing. It wouldn't shock me if Steven Montez is a very interesting addition to the practice squad, because I didn't like him in college. I wasn't a huge fan of his at Colorado. I saw him play in person. He was at the Big House. Didn't necessarily have a great game there. We'll see what they got. I think that's a position where you can probably see some flexibility. If a guy like Garrett Gilbert wants to be in, or if somebody that has experience with the Rams or the Saints or the Chargers with the coaching staff as it sits, it wouldn't surprise me if somebody moves in there in that number 3 quarterback spot while Tim Boyle is still on injured reserve. Next
is from Ben. Last year, we only won 5 games with a superior quarterback and receiving options, but brought down by horrible defense and head coach. This year, we are looking at maybe 4 to 5 wins. How do we get those? I.e., what are the strengths of this team going to be?
How do we get the 5 wins to go 5-12 this year? It's a good question. It is a good question. Who asked that? Ben. Good question, Ben. It's going to be tough. I think there's going to be a couple of weeks where the offense is going to click. This is something that I've said throughout training camp, and I've said it to guys like Nick Baumgartner from The Athletic, and he agreed with me. There's going to be like 2 or 3 weeks where Goff and Khalif Raymond and Tyrell Williams and Hawkinson, they all click, and this team's going to put up 35 on somebody, and people are going to be like, what happened? That's going to happen 2 or 3 times. I'm pretty confident about that. The rest of the time, they're going to win because they're going to get takeaways with their defense. They're going to be smart and strong on special teams. They're going to have a couple of methodical drives. The other team is going to overlook them, maybe take them a little bit lightly and not bring their A game. If that happens, they can get to 5. They can get to 6. I think that's probably... I could go through and do the schedule game and probably get them to 7 and 10 as an absolute best if I'm wearing my biggest rose-colored glasses full of Kool-Aid. I'm not there. I'm at 4 or 5 right now. I do actually have to officially go through and do that this week. Expect me to come with them being 4 and 13 or 5 and 12, and that's as realistic as it is. Would I like them to be better? Would I like this turnaround to go quicker? Heck yeah, I would. But I understand that, and the way that they talked about the press conference about their youth movement and everything, they seem pretty aware that this is not a year where they're going to expect to compete to win a lot of games, but they are going to still try to win as many games as they can.
Next question is from Brian. Can you think of any NFL teams in recent history who started a season with such a young and inexperienced lineup?
It's tough. One of them, unfortunately, is the Cleveland Browns in 2017, who went winless. Now, they actually did what a lot of people thought that the Lions were going to do, and they had some veterans sprinkled in as placeholders. They had guys like Kenny Britt at wide receiver. There's a couple other guys that it doesn't matter. The Lions are probably younger than that. Actually, I think the Jets roster this year is also young. They're doing the same thing, which in a way is encouraging. That it's like, okay, this appears to be the new trend, but in another way, it's like we're doing the same thing the Jets are. It's a long climb. I will go back a few years to the Texans back when they first landed Arian Foster and J.J. Watt. I mean, they still had Eric Winston at right tackle. They still had Andre Johnson at wide receiver. But by and large, all of that team came together very quickly with a bunch of young guys. Jonathan Joseph was still a young cornerback at that time. And the core of that team grew up together in like 2010, 2011, and 2000, and they got really good really quickly. Now they had marquee players. J.J. Watt, he's freaking J.J. Watt. He's going to the Hall of Fame someday. Arian Foster was lightning in an absolute bottle, and I loved watching that. I love that team, so I'll show a little bias there. But that was a team They had a few veterans more on defense than what the Lions do. Remember, we didn't see Jamie Collins. We didn't see Michael Brockers in the preseason at all. So I think they're a little bit out of sight, out of mind. They are going to play significant roles on this defense. So I do and Trey Flowers as an example too. I think the defense is more seasoned than the offense is, and I think that's where it will lean. But if they can turn it around the way that Texans team did from the 2008-2009 Texans, which were they just weren't very good. They weren't entertaining either. And then they got really good right away, and that's why the person who's reading the questions to us is a Texans fan, because she grew up down there during that. So that's probably the best case. Now, would that team would have been better if they would have won a few more playoff games? Yeah, it would have.
Next question is from Greg Martin. How aggressive do you expect the defense to be in terms of bringing pressure? Seems like they're going to want to really bring the heat to take some pressure off of all of the young DBs they have in the secondary.
Yeah, they're definitely going to bring a lot more pressure than what we're used to. I don't think it's going to be blitz happy, but remember, Dom Capers, the master, the godfather of the zone blitz, is on this defensive staff. So expect a lot of 5-man pressures, and it's going to be not just like, okay, we're rushing our 3 up front and then we have our 2 flanks. They're going to rush guys in. You're going to see Romeo Okwara loop inside. You're going to see Aleem McNeil loop around to the outside or line up in a 2 technique with no 0 technique and attack from that. You're going to have Jamie Collins blitzing from behind that. Derek Barnes lining up all over the place as a wild card. We did see them use the slot corner blitz some in camp. That's one of the reasons, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, why A.J. Parker won the job, because he's really good at it. So I think you're going to see more. I don't think they're going to be in the top 5 in the league in blitz percentage, but I think you're going to see a consistent pressure. But I think it's also going to be more diverse than what we're used to. It's not just one guy trying to beat one guy in front of them. You're going to see them working more in conjunction with one another to create opportunities for one another.
Next is from Derek Edwards. If you had to predict who the Lions' defensive and offensive player of the years will be, who would you pick?
Defensive player of the year, I'm going to go. Jeff Okudah is probably the savvy choice, and probably my aspirational choice. But I think Jamie Collins is going to impress people. I think he's going to have a really good year. He's in a position where he's played before, where he has thrived before. So I'm going to go with him. And it could be a case of him also playing realistically, this is probably his last year in Detroit. It's probably his last chance to go out and earn a big contract somewhere else. Knowing Jamie Collins a little bit, I think that makes him have a pretty darn good year. Offensively, wow. Frank Ragnow's the best player on the team. Taylor Decker's the second best player on the offense. So it's kind of tough to predict those guys to be like the MVPs because they don't really show up in the stat sheet. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to catch a ton of passes. I'm not sure that he's going to average more than about 8.8 yards per reception, but he could catch 90 passes. So it's either going to be him or Hawkinson that are probably the most logical choices there. I worry a little bit about DeAndre Swift being able to last for 17 games. I don't think that Jamal Williams is going to get just that enough opportunities, even if Swift is out, because I do think they're going to mix Jamar Jefferson in. Anthony Lynn loves using a lot of running backs, and I think that sort of dampens down the enthusiasm for an MVP coming from that position, unless they're just stellar, and right now we haven't seen that yet.
All right, next question is from Big Bad Fab. Realistic expectations for rookies, particularly the first 5 and incredibly Parker.
Okay, yeah. So we just talked about Amon-Ra. I think he's going to catch 90 passes for 750 yards. That's the ballpark figure where I'm at with him. I think he will lead the team in targets, but I don't think he will lead them in receiving yards or touchdowns. I think that's going to be Tyrell or possibly Khalif, with Hawkinson certainly mixed in there. Panay, I think he's going to have a year. I'm going to compare him to Jedrick Wills last year from Cleveland because I know that well, and this is a guy, he switched from the right side to the left side. Remember, he was Tua's, who's a left-handed quarterback. He was his blindside protector in college. They're very different players, though. Jedrick Wills was a pass protection specialist as a rookie and really good at it. I think you're going to see Panay Sewell be a run-blocking specialist as a rookie. He's going to take some lumps with the speed of the game. His his layoff, all that time that he missed, and all that time that he didn't play against good competition, it shows. I'm much more concerned about that than I am about him switching from the left side to the right side. And I've had the conversation with enough people who have done the switch themselves and who have coached the switch that they see the same thing I do. So I'm pretty confident that once he gets up to speed with it, he'll be fine. But for the people that were texting me after they drafted him, Hall of Fame, put the bus up and get already. You might want to slow that bus down a little bit. Second round pick, Levi Onwuzurike. I think he's going to rotate in with Michael Brockers quite a bit. I think you're going to see him take over the role that we all wanted Deshaun Hand to be healthy and have, and he just can't have that. I think he's going to be good, not great. This is another guy. He did not play football last year. It showed. He didn't play a lot in training camp. He did get into the preseason and showed you what he can do, but also what his limitations are. So I think he's going to have a modest rookie season. It wouldn't surprise me if he got like 4.5 sacks in 17 games, playing 40 to 50% of the snaps. I think that's probably the game plan for him. I love what Aleem McNeil is going to bring to this team as the starting nose tackle. I don't know if he's going to get a lot of stats. I just know that boy is a hoss in the middle, and I can't wait to watch him wreak havoc. He's going to be fun. As much as you can love a nose tackle, I love Aleem McNeil. Who else is there? Ifeatu. I don't know where he's going to fit. He is not one of the top 2 outside corners. He's not one of the top 2 inside corners. So I think you're going to see him sort of spoon-fed. I'm not sure that he's going to play a tremendous amount as a rookie, honestly. He's more of a long-term developmental type of cornerback. He's got the athleticism. I really wish, personally, I know they haven't done it, but I wish they would switch him to safety. I think he'd be better there. I think his tackling and just the way that he sees the field, I think would be a better fit at safety, but I'm not Dan Campbell. I don't want to be Dan Campbell. I don't want Dan Campbell to be mad at me, so if you see this, Dan, it's just a suggestion, not a demand. And then AJ Parker, my goodness. I watched this Kansas State tape, and I'm like, I don't know what the Lions are getting here. They got themselves a starting slot corner as an undrafted rookie. He's going to take some lumps. He's going to, they're going to isolate Devontae Adams on him in Green Bay. You know this is going to happen. They're going to get Justin Jefferson on him in Minnesota. They're going to work matchups and switches, and he's going to have some rough points. He is all about working for the long term, getting his feet wet, and showing that he can handle the job that he earned and keep it for the full year. And I think he will have some lumps. I think PFF will probably be fairly rough on him, but I also think that we will like him probably more than PFF does, and I think we will have a lot of promise going into next year that he can be a pretty darn good slot corner. That's my thoughts on that.
All right, our next one is from Greg Warren. What can we expect out of Godwin Ibuki this year? If Swift's injury persists, is he able to handle an increased workload? Could he be the third down back, given his high marks for pass pro in the preseason?
Yeah, Godwin Ibuki definitely has a role. They didn't keep him on this team for window dressing. Like I said earlier, Anthony Lynn loves using lots of running backs. They have lots of running backs. They got 4 of them. I think you're going to see him get some run, especially if Swift is hurt. I think one of the reasons why you might see less of Swift is because they have so much confidence in Jamal and Jamar and Godwin. That's an interesting mouthful of... I said them right, too. My daughter's very impressed at my diction there. I think he's going to be good. I also think he's going to get a shot at running back some kicks and punts. That seems to be in the cards. You look at that last preseason game, he was very dynamic on the kick returns. That's part of what endeared him to the coaching staff. I think we're going to see him. Look, is he going to get 100 carries? No. Could he get 25 carries and 20 receptions? Yeah, he could do that in the full season. And that for a number 4 running back, that's pretty good work.
All right. Next question is from Jeff. At the end of the day, can we even fairly evaluate Goff this year and make a decision about the future of the quarterback position in his offseason when his best wide receiver is either a 4th-round rookie or Ty Williams?
Yeah. So this question was asked almost exactly like that at the press conference on Thursday. So good on you, Jeff, for asking it. My answer is a little bit different than what Brad Holmes answered it. He basically said that they have enough confidence in their receivers that yes, that they can. I lean more to the other side where If Goff makes these guys look good, then yes, he passes the test. My big worry, and we've talked about this on the podcast before with Chris, is that he doesn't, and they don't put any of the blame on him because the receiving core isn't very good. And then he gets another year where they hopefully, God willing, upgrade the wide receiving cast. And then he still isn't right. And then we sort of burned a year on the clock with Hawk and with Amon-Ra and with the defense, the young defense, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm more concerned than the Lions are showing on the record, and I can tell you that also off the record, they're pretty much the same way. They believe that they like what they've got more than anyone would believe or want to believe.
All right. Our next question is from Gary Luke. DC and BH are talking up Will Harris. Should we believe them?
God, I want to. So, as the number one person who has driven the bus over and over and over Will Harris over the years, I would love for him to shut me up, to have a great year, to earn another contract. Look, he's a good guy. He's a smart guy. Y'all know I like smart football players. He's one of the smartest guys on the team off the field. I would love for it to work for him. I am not sold, not nearly as much as they are. Was he better in training camp this year in preseason than he has been? Absolutely. Does he still need to get better? Absolutely. I think he has proven that he could be a capable number 3 safety. So then you're asking Dean Marlowe to step up. We'll see. I'm not all that optimistic about it. I'm much more optimistic that Tracy Walker will bounce back.
Actually seems to be our last question.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
All right, that's it. Thank you, Elizabeth, for reading. Thanks everybody for chiming in. And we will get this up. We will have another podcast recording next week. Probably won't be Wednesday because that's my 25th anniversary, and I got to keep the wife a little happy on that one. So look for the time throughout the week, and we will preview the 49ers game and what's coming on with the season and any other changes that happen between them. Thanks.